What is a value chain? Have you ever heard of it before? What is a value chain? Does anyone want to try? Okay, so we'll just go right into the presentation. So every commodity we have in Nigeria, just name it: tomatoes, maize, rice, beans, soybeans, yam, cassava. Every commodity is a value chain. So when we talk about a value chain, we are basically referring to a sequence set of activities and actors working together to add value to that commodity from one point to another before it gets to the final consumer. Okay, please, I want you to write down this definition, because as an agribusiness specialist or as an agripreneur, you're going to be dealing with one value chain or the other. You can see the definition on my screen. It says actors connected along a chain, producing, transforming, and bringing goods and services to the end consumers through a sequence set of activities. I just like to define it in my own way in my head, right? But I want you to have that definition. I want you, most importantly, I want you to have that understanding of what a value chain is, okay? Think about it as a bigger system, okay? It's much more than agriculture. It's a bigger system, and this system is what we call the value chain, okay? And this value chain starts even before the seed goes into the ground. All right. So in agribusiness, we categorize the value chain into 4 segments. All right. The first segment is what we call pre-upstream. Pre-upstream is where you identify the kind of seed you need to plant. Is where you conduct the research that you even need to do research before you even start planting, right? Conduct research, then start identifying the kind of seeds, the kind of fertilizer you would need, the kind of mechanization you need. That's where you do your soil testing and all of that, right? So that is the pre-upstream. And this pre-upstream is like the foundation of your value chain, okay? Now, moving on from the pre-upstream, the next segment we have is the upstream segment. So the upstream, we also call it the production segment, which is actually where the seeds are planted. This is where the production of whatever commodity you are focusing on happens, right? So I was talking about the upstream segment, where I was trying to explain that it's the same as production. So for the upstream is basically activities that happen around the area of production, okay? So after we plant our seed, we harvest on the farm, and after harvesting, sometimes there might be need to carry out some primary processing. For instance, in maize, okay, when we harvest our maize cobs, removing the cobs from the back of the corn, that's some sort of processing. It happens on the farm. We also have primary transport. Primary transport can refer to transporting the harvest from the farm to a location where the production takes place, which is on the farm, right? So every activity that happens around this production site, we classify them as primary, okay? And then we harvest. So after harvest, we do some level of processing. It could be washing, it could be just removing corn from the cobs, it could be anything. We also have primary storage. You can have a small holding center or a cocoon or a small warehouse on that field, or a small section that you have partitioned. That's primary storage. And then we move to the third segment, which is known as the midstream segment. So in agribusiness, the midstream is usually classified as the value addition proper, right? So the midstream is where you now take that, let's say maize, that raw material form, which is just the maize, to a final product, right? Also in the midstream segment, we have things like logistics, where you now have to carry your products from one point to another. You have things like storage, warehousing. Finally, in the value chain, the last segment is known as the downstream segment, actually the market segment, because of what use are you producing if you cannot sell it to a market. So the downstream is what we call the market. And for market, we have segmented it into 3. So we have the retail or consumer market, we have the industrial market, right? And then we have the export market. Okay, so this is basically a depiction of any agricultural value chain. I'll move to the next slide that further breaks it down. Okay, so for your pre-upstream or pre-production, pre means before, right? Before. So before you plant, what do you need? Who are people you need to speak to? For the pre-production, you need to know who the seed suppliers are. Where are you going to buy these maize seeds from? Who are the fertilizer suppliers? Do you need irrigation for your business? Do you need to get mechanization? Who are the mechanization service providers? You understand, right? So that is the pre-production. Okay, and then we move to the production. Who are the people that actually plant these maize? Are they smallholder farmers? Are they commercial farmers? Are they associations? Are they cooperatives? Are they those big companies like flour mills or Dangote that have their own farms? Okay, so that's the production or upstream. All right, and then we have the processing, which is the midstream. So for the processing or midstream, who are the people that will mill? Who are the people that will process? Who are the people that will help you transport? These are the actors, like the traders, the wholesalers, retailers, the distribution companies, export companies, right? So essentially what this value chain mapping does is that it helps us understand the journey of a product from the beginning to the end. And remember, we said it's a chain. A value chain is essentially a chain. Us in this room, we are now supposed to analyze or look at this value chain, right, and check for problems or pain points. Okay, because anywhere you see a pain point or anywhere you see a problem, just like I've emphasized, that is an opportunity for you. There's a potential business. From one point to another, from pre-upstream or pre-production to upstream or production to midstream or processing or to downstream or markets, along this value chain, we can all play in various capacities. Every problem that was mentioned today has a position along this value chain. Like I mentioned, your job, my job, our job is to spot where these pain points are. Because once again, I said, where there is a pain, there is a potential business. Where there's a problem, there is a potential business. Where there's a or challenge, there is a potential business. Okay, so to emphasize again, the value chain map basically tells us journey from the beginning to the end. It breaks down, different stages along each segment. It tells us who is involved, what happens at each point, and it tells us where the value is added. All right. Okay, so we move to the next slide. Remember, I said just write down your questions. We'll take the questions after the session, and I'll try to be as fast as possible. Okay. And so, just like I've also emphasized, right, we need to know where the opportunity exists. Where are the gaps? Where can you add value, right? Every gap is a chance to innovate or intervene. Come up with a solution, okay? Are we talking about high post-harvest losses? Because tomato has a very short shelf life. So imagine that we can take that tomato and use technology to process it into a more stable product. You understand? Like maybe tomato paste or something that can last longer on the shelf. You understand? That's a gap that we can come up with a solution for. Then you're looking at things like weak logistics and cold storage. We're looking at information gaps for smallholder farmers. I think Faith mentioned that as well. And even Saif also mentioned that, these are gaps. These are anywhere you see gap, problem, don't run. No. Just know that it's an opportunity for you to come up with a solution that can bring value to you at the end of the day. Okay. Then there's something we talk about in agribusiness, right? We like to start with the end. We like to begin with the end. Okay, because you say, oh, I've identified this problem, I've identified this solution, let's jump right into the market. What is the market saying? You understand? Before you convert that your problem and solution into a business idea, you need to understand the market. You have work to do, and that work is called a market research. It matters so much, because without having an extensive market research, you are just joking. That's the truth. Yes, it's easy to say, oh, there's a market, but when it is time for that market to purchase, you now know that there's no market. But there's a market too. That's where market research comes in. You need to understand the market. You understand? It will help you validate that problem that you have identified. It tells you whether people actually want what you are building, that solution that you are building. It tells you whether people want it. Don't just start with assumptions, start with information. So there are questions you can ask. You can start asking questions like, who is the target customer? Like, who needs this solution? Okay, what are their current frustrations? What are they currently using? This solution I've created, can they pay for it? You understand? Is there any other person in this space that is doing this thing? This one is very, very important, because you need to know if you have competition and who your competitions are. So a good market research will help you build something useful, not just interesting or fancy. It tells you that, look, there are people that can actually pay for this solution that you are coming up with. Okay, so remember I said, please write it down, begin with the end in mind, then you go backwards to go and fix it. Okay, so that's that, and then we'll move to our next activity. So this activity will give us the chance to group people, but I think I can just make it individual activities. So I want you to cassava, cocoa, oil palm, anything at all, any commodity, right? You see this value chain that we did here, this value chain. I want you to, just on a piece of paper, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just for me, so I can give you a tip, so that your value chain, you can representing your 4 segments. So you have your pre-upstream, you have your upstream, you have your midstream, and you have your downstream, right? So I want you to identify the items under your pre-upstream. So you identify seeds, which are your inputs, your fertilizer, your chemicals, if you know, mechanization, if you don't identify it like that. I also want you to identify who are the people that would actually produce this commodity, whatever commodity you have identified. And then I want you to identify possible products that your commodity can be processed into, and that's the midstream. And then finally, I want you to identify your potential market. Domestic, is it domestic market, export market? And then also, as you're making all these identifications, I want you to highlight or identify challenges and opportunities at each stage, if any. Okay, and I'm going to be calling like 2 or 3 people. I want to be very fast with this. All right, please let me know if you understand this. Please, I want everyone to do this activity. I want to see what it looks like. So I'm giving just 2 minutes. Remember, so like I said, it's very easy, like very, 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 very easy. Just draw 4 circles or 4 square, pre-upstream, upstream, midstream, and downstream. Okay, if anyone has done this task, can you just let me know? You just you can unmute and let me know if you've done the task. Please let me hear from you. What commodity did you pick? So and run me through your value chain.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the commodity I'm looking at currently right now is market weight broiler production, and I'm looking at targeting 2.5 kg of broiler birds. That's within 6 weeks. So for the value chain, the input I'm looking at, you're getting DO chicks from reputable hatchery. I'm looking at the feeds that I'll be using for the birds, as broiler starter and broiler finishers. Then I'm also looking at building a connection with this, because I need insurance. This business is something that I need to insure. Yeah, so moving forward, yes, ma'am. Going to the production aspect, the 6 weeks phase, and it's going to be a continuous cycle. It's not just rain and stopping. It's going to be 6 weeks. Although we'll try and break it down, that's going to be on the business plan of breaking it down into 3 weeks. Then processing, because I want to run through the value chain. I don't want to sell it to middlemen or also I'll sell it to restaurants. I'll sell it to food. I don't know what they call them. Sorry, I'm on hot seats now. But then I'll try and process it.
So that's your final market, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you processing your chicken?
Yes, ma'am.
Or you're selling them as live? Okay.
No. I'm selling them as processed chicken. That's frozen. Fantastic. But the frozen is just probably with the tailors within. There's going to be a contract kind of, so it's not going forward for the packaging. So now, because it's also a business, I'm trying to work on restaurants around where I stay. We have big restaurants, although it's not the ones we know, they are still upcoming, and then so there's a partnership that I'm trying to establish with them. So they'll be the one, but it's also restaurant that's in fast rising food. All this eat and order, or I don't know, but the likes of
Fantastic.
restaurant should consider now going. Yeah, thank you.
Continue. You said you want to package?
Yes, like put more branding to the aspect of it, the business side of it, to brand the business, coming up with branded nylons. Because that we'll be doing is we don't want to target the restaurants. The restaurants might really focus up, and also we might also want to look into one-on-one with the direct customers. We just be our secondary markets, but majorly we're trying to focus on the restaurant there.
All right. Thank you very much. Faith, do you want to share your value chain? Thank you. I can
hear. Yeah, the commodity I pick is tomato.
Fantastic. Okay.
And for the inputs, I need seeds, fertilizer, pesticide, water, land, and labor. Then according to what you said, you should mention the challenges and the opportunities.
Exactly.
So the challenge is there is poor quality inputs, high cost of agrochemicals.
Okay.
Good. The opportunities are access to improved seed varieties and extension services. That is for inputs, and for the production, plant preparation, planting, irrigation, and disease control and harvesting.
Fantastic.
So that is for the production. Then the challenges there are pest attacks, irregular rainfall, and limited technical knowledge. That is under production.
Okay.
Then the opportunities use of greenhouses, drip irrigation generally, and training for farmers. So these are under opportunities under production.
So for processing, opportunities, okay.
Yes. We have like sorting, washing, and slicing.
Okay. So it's into tomato paste. Okay.
Into tomato paste.
Okay.
So for the challenges, we have limited processing facilities and high cost of equipment.
Okay.
So that's for the challenges. For the opportunities, investment in small scale.
Fantastic. And time to sell your tomato paste too.
So supermarkets and so the local markets, also industries.
Fantastic. You see, I've learned two things today. This is session 3. Session 3 looks at infusing technology and data in agribusiness, which, like I said earlier, is the backbone of everything we're talking about. For you to make a difference in agribusiness, you must have a high level of technology and data. And these are two areas in Nigeria where we do better. That's the reason why we're here today. Technology, data. What is technology?
Technology is application of scientific knowledge, tools, techniques, and methods to solve problems, improve process of taking products.
Fantastic. That was perfect. Thank you so very much. So basically, technology is the use of tools, systems, or knowledge to solve problems, to make our work game changer, which is technology. Remember, I said it's the backbone of everything that we're doing in agribusiness. It's no longer optional. Now, if you're thinking of any solution, you must have technology infused in. Why? Because one, technology efficiency and reduce waste. It enables data-driven decision making. So you're not just making decisions based on assumptions. No, you are making decisions based on verifiable data. Okay, so technology also helps us to expand our market reach and access. About the one that Adekoya Femi is doing. Okay, technology is essentially reshaping every part of our agriculture process today. Okay, from the way we farm, from the way we process, even to the way we sell. All right, move on to the next slide where I'll try to show you some key innovations. Okay, just look at GPT. I'm sure we all know about ChatGPT. There's also something called AgriGPT. You can take it down and look at it after this class. AgriGPT helps us, gives us information about agriculture, like virtual advisory services and support for farmers. Okay. And we also have things like drones. I had mentioned drones before. You can't use human beings to start walking around a large piece of land, but with drones can help us go around a very large piece of land. It can help us monitor our crops, can help us detect diseases, it can help us know if the plants need water and all of that. So farmers don't need to be walking long distances. Technology can give you it's like a bird flying over land, bird's eye view, right? We also have things like data analytics. I spoke about data earlier, right? Data analytics can help us predict harvest. Okay, it can help us track farm input. Oh, this station requires more fertilizer, for instance, requires more water and all of that. It helps us to make better decisions. Essentially, we also have agri fintech platforms that can give us access to loans, insurance, payment systems. We have things like what else is here? Cold chain technology. I remember, who was it that spoke about it? Divine spoke about it. Cold chain technology. We can have things like solar powered storage systems that can help us produce food and reduce post harvest, and to plant a lot of commodities, right? So that's vertical farming. It's essentially planting in stacks. So think about a container, for instance. You know these 7-foot containers. Think about having up to 500 trays in that stack, various commodities in it. Okay? Right. So these are just some of the key information. I want you, if you can take, although I'll share this slide, but if you can take a picture of this slide just to give you an idea of the kind of innovations that are transforming every stage in the agricultural value chain. Okay, and these are not things that are far from us. They are here already, and your role is to learn about them, try them. You might even build on this and build something better. You don't know, trust me. Okay, you just know about it. Okay, so then start opening your brain to how you can develop these kind of innovations, because trust me, we need you. Nigeria needs you. Nigerian agribusiness needs you. Okay, and so this next slide, I did a research on some AgriTech platforms. Also, I need you to take a picture of this slide. Some AgriTech platforms in Nigeria that you must know. These startups, they are transforming Nigerian agriculture with technology. Just after this class, make sure you search on them. Just Google about all these guys. They use technology. Technology is at the backbone of everything they are doing. Okay, the first one we have here is Agri. In fact, this Thrive Agri, they've been able to support over 500,000 farmers, and they've even raised millions of naira. And this can be you. You understand? The next we have here is Relief. Okay, so this one, they use technology to come up with a machine that helps them process oil palm faster. Okay, and also reduces waste. All right, and then next we have Cold Hubs. So cold hubs, just like I think Divine mentioned, they are a solar powered cold storage solution that can help us reduce post harvest losses. All right, and then this solution can help increase shelf life from like 2 days or 4 days, or you have crops to cash. Farmers need money. Without money, they cannot conduct their agricultural activities. So crops to cash gives farmers access to financing. You can read more about them. And then finally we have Agromore. These are not the only 5 we have in Nigeria. There are much more, but I just selected these 5. They speak to a lot of things we're talking about today. The final one we have provides digital tools for advising farmers. They link farmers to insurance, they link farmers to market, and all of that. So these are 5 AgriTech platforms that you should know in Nigeria. All right, very, very important. Remember, I said technology. That data can be analyzed to help you even make better decisions, can help you make informed decisions, profitable decisions. Okay, and how can we collect this data? So these are some of the tools that we can use to collect data. I'll just highlight 3 of them that we can relate with. The first is Google Forms, which is a very simple tool. It's just basically collecting information for the value chain, which is the poultry value chain. It can have tools that we can use to collect data. Okay, collection of, because data is very, very important in everything we do. So you can use Google Forms or you can use Excel. Let me move to the next. This is another activity, but if you can just take a screenshot of this activity, I will follow up with everyone to find out how they deliver this activity, because I want everyone to do it. So essentially, it's basically identifying a problem and using tech to solve that problem, or identifying an activity and using tech or data solution to solve that problem. Okay, please take a screenshot of this. Like I said, we'll share the slide with everyone after this class. So we'll move to the last session, which is like the most important, not really the most important, but an important part, because okay, so you've identified the gap, you've identified the challenge, you've identified the problem, you've identified the solution, you've identified the technology, you've just trying to see how we can turn your ideas into something real, something that can work, something that can grow and eventually make money for you. Okay, to define who your target customer is. All right, who is your target customer? Who is going to pay for this problem that you have brought a solution for? All right, and then the next, you come up with your solution. Simple solution, but if it's why we're here today, it makes everything all worthwhile. Infuse technology into that solution, because trust me, it's going to make your life better. All right, and then let it be something that can grow. Okay, so if you're in Kano and you come up with a solution, it should be something that can be replicated in Kaduna, in Oyo, in Sokoto, in anywhere, in Kenya. Thinking of a solution always has scalability at the end of it. And idea becomes this when someone is willing to pay for the value that it provides. Okay, and so we're going to move into how to draft a one-page agribusiness plan. Okay, if you can, please take this screenshot. This screenshot is when I say extremely, it is extremely important, because this screenshot can be get financing from an external source or not. Okay, so like I said, key element: you look at the problem, you look at the solution, you look at the target market, you look at the customers. How are you going to engage your customers? How are you going to retain them? You identify the technology behind this solution, or the data element behind the solution. Then you look at the channels. How are your customers going to see this your solution? How are they going to get the solution? You look at key activities. What activities you can use? Personal savings. You can just start small, start saving money, and use your personal savings to test run a solution. You can get money from several AgriTech competitions. In fact, I just recently read of one that Flour Mills did for livestock solutions. I think the first winner got 5 million naira and all that. So yeah, so these are ways that you can turn your ideas into viable ventures, because without money you're not really going anywhere. You bring your idea to life. Okay, in fact, there's even no need to rush into this. Please take this home. I will be following up with each and every one of you. I hope that you are all on LinkedIn so that I can easily connect with all of you, because I would like to see the agricultural technology and data. Okay, we have learned the mindset shift. We have identified there are so many opportunities along the value chain, every stage of the value chain. Trust me, there is a gap waiting to be closed. There's an opportunity waiting to be grabbed. Okay, and that with technology and data, we can farm smarter, we can conduct our agribusiness smarter, and then we can scale faster. You can start where you are. Start small. You can start from your personal savings and then grow gradually. Remember, like I said during this presentation, you are the next generation of agripreneurs. And then this is the question and answers. If you have any questions, please ask a question. Like I said, I know that you're all on LinkedIn. You can connect and take this conversation even further. Okay, so you have 2 activities to submit to me. Please, I want to see those activities, because trust me, you don't know where those activities can take you to. It can be the starting point for something really big. You can take this to the bank and cash it. I know this because I know this. Okay, so I want you to do those 2 activities. Let's connect on LinkedIn. So activity. Okay, so just pitch your problem. Then the second was the value chain activity. Okay. Then the third is before and after. Identify a common problem or a common activity, come up with a solution essentially, and the fourth is to come up with your agribusiness plan.
Okay,
that's it. Okay, so I look forward to hearing from all of you. Does anybody have any questions, please? Any questions whatsoever? I think we have maybe 2 more minutes or so, or 3 more minutes. Questions please. You can just connect with me on LinkedIn, and then we can take the conversation further. That's also my phone number, so you can send me a WhatsApp message via my phone number. Okay, I'm always here for you, because I want all of you to succeed. Okay.
Yes, it's me.
Okay, Hawa, yes, please go ahead.
How do we integrate AI into agriculture?
Oh, that's a very brilliant question. So AI has already been infused into many of the technology applications that we have. Just like I said in one of the on that innovation slide, there's something called AgriGPT. That's some sort of AI that provides advisory services to farmers, agripreneurs like us in this room right now, and all of that. So AI is really here to stay. AI in a second can answer even the most difficult questions in agriculture today. So it's essentially knowing which AI tools that would be suitable and adequate for what we're doing in agriculture. Okay. And there are several of them, just like this AgriGPT I mentioned. And after the class, I can also give you a list of other AI tools that can help us. Miriam, I can see your claps, and Sheung. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.